47 seconds. That's all it took for Jasmine Crockett to obliterate Lara Trump on live TV in front of 330 million Americans. In a chamber dripping with fake gold, Lara bragged about $500 million in ballot power, but Jasmine fired back with a brutal slap. This isn't patriotism. It's theft wrapped in glitter, a golden cage for the people. The silence that followed was deafening. The chamber shook like an earthquake, and the illusion of a golden age crumbled before the world's eyes. When $500 million turns into dust and 330 million lives hang in the balance, whose side will you stand on? Stay with us. This is a story worth every second of your time. The broadcast doesn't begin with calm music or polite introductions, it detonates. Cameras cut to Lara Trump striding into the hearing chamber as if it were her private palace. She wears confidence like armor, her heels clicking against marble floors that echo louder than any gavel. Behind her, aides project images onto a massive LED screen, glittering shots of her gilded Oval Office, chandeliers blazing, and gold-plated curtains waving like banners of conquest. The room gasps not in admiration, but in disbelief. This is not governance, this is theater. In the wings, Jasmine Crockett tightens her grip on the stack of folders in her hands. She's not looking at the screen anymore, she's looking past it, into the faces of the citizens she promised to fight for. The grandmother in Texas rationed insulin last month. The student who sold plasma to cover textbooks. The firefighter who lost benefits after a lifetime of service. None of them will ever stand beneath chandeliers worth more than their homes. Jasmine feels her pulse drum like war drums. If Lara's gold is meant to intimidate, Jasmine's resolve will be the hammer that shatters it. The chamber buzzes with a nervous electricity. Reporters whisper, cameras zoom, and lawmakers shift uneasily in their chairs. Lara smiles for the lenses, tilting her chin as though this were a magazine shoot. She raises her voice, smooth but sharp. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what strength looks like, a golden age for a nation that deserves order and prosperity. Murmurs ripple through the audience. To some, the words feel like promise. To others, they sound like chains. Jasmine steps forward. She doesn't wait for applause, doesn't bow to spectacle. The moment she enters the chamber, the nose dips as if oxygen has been pulled from the room. Her voice cuts through like steel. Strength is not what drips from gold ceilings. Strength is what survives when everything else has been stripped away. The words strike harder than any gavel. The screen behind Lara flickers. The dazzling images of gold suddenly look garish, fragile, hollow. Every camera in the chamber locks onto the two women. One cloaked in illusion, the other armed with conviction. Lara smirks, tilts her head, and sneers. Bold words, Congresswoman. But America doesn't run on speeches. The chamber door slams shut behind her. For a split second, silence cuts through the chaos, and then every camera swings toward Jasmine Crockett as if the air itself had shifted. She doesn't stride in like a guest, she commands the floor like a storm entering the room. Her eyes lock on Lara Trump, still basking in the glow of her golden images, and without a pause Jasmine's voice slices the tension. Gold may cover walls, but it cannot cover corruption. The words land like thunder. Reporters' pens freeze mid-scribble. The chamber vibrates with a low hum of shock. Lara turns slowly, lips curling into a smirk sharpened for the kill. Her reply is venom dressed as charm. Says the queen of ratings. The insult ripples like broken glass across the chamber. On one side, MAGA loyalists erupt into laughter and clapping, pounding their fists on the tables as if mocking applause could erase the sting of Jasmine's words. On the other, Democrats rise to their feet, some shouting "Hear her," while others slam their hands in solidarity, drowning the room in raw defiance. The chamber is no longer divided by aisles, it is split down the soul of the nation. Jasmine doesn't flinch. She lets the chaos rise, then lifts her chin, calm as a blade before it strikes. If ratings mean millions of Americans finally see the truth, she fires back, then I'll take that crown. Because better to be the queen of ratings than the queen of deception. The blow lands with surgical precision, and for a heartbeat the chamber freezes in suspended disbelief. Lara's smile twitches at the edge, her fingers tightening on the podium as if gripping for control. The cameras zoom in, sweat glistens on foreheads, jaws tighten, eyes dart between the two women like spectators at a gladiator match. Journalists whisper, did she just call Lara the queen of deception? The clip is already racing across social media. Hashtags exploding in real time. Hashtag Gold vs Truth. Hashtag Crockett Strike. Hashtag Golden Illusion. The energy in the room is electric, vibrating with anger, fear, and awe. Lara attempts to laugh it off, tossing her hair with a practiced gesture, but the room isn't with her anymore. The MAGA cheers sound forced now, as if even her own allies sense Jasmine has seized the rhythm. Jasmine takes a slow step forward, her gaze never leaving Lara's. "You can shine a room in gold," she says, her voice steady but rising, "but you can't blind a nation forever, not when people are hungry, not when families can't afford medicine, not when ballots are being handled like poker chips." Every sentence is a knife twisting deeper, every pause a hammer against the hollow echo of Lara's golden illusions. The chamber is trembling, not from sound, but from the weight of truth cutting through spectacle. America watches breathless, some with clenched fists, some with broken faith, all unable to look away. Jasmine doesn't just challenge Lara, she unmasks her, leaving the room to decide which vision it will choose, a golden cage or a raw, unvarnished democracy. If you were in that chamber, would you rise to clap or would you turn your back and walk out? The chamber is still vibrating when the feed cuts to national networks. Anchors lean forward, voices urgent, almost breathless. CNN replays Jasmine's line in slow motion. "Better to be the queen of ratings than the queen of deception." MSNBC flashes a breaking banner. Crockett strikes back. Fox News counters with bold text. Crockett humiliates herself. The war isn't just in the chamber now, it's spilling into living rooms, bars, phones, and every screen across America. In Dallas, a black grandmother leaps from her couch, tears brimming as she shouts, "That's my girl, Jasmine." She claps so hard her palms sting, then fumbles for her phone, calling her church group to tell them to turn on the TV. Meanwhile, in a VFW hall in Ohio, a retired MAGA veteran slams his beer on the counter, muttering, "Disrespectful, nothing." But a loudmouth chasing cameras, his buddies nod, grumbling about how politics used to be civil. One bar, two worlds, one country split down the middle. On Twitter, hashtags explode at lightning speed. Hashtag Golden Illusion trends alongside. Hashtag Crockett Crushesler. Comment threads ignite. Finally someone calls it like it is. Versus "This woman is destroying America" on TV. TikTok edits roll out within minutes, splicing Jasmine's line with beats, turning her fury into an anthem for Gen Z. At the same time, conservative influencers upload furious rants, framing Jasmine as an unhinged radical. Every scroll deepens the divide. Activists seize the moment. In New York, a student coalition projects Jasmine's words across a downtown skyscraper. Gold may cover walls, but it cannot cover corruption. In Houston, MAGA supporters organize an impromptu rally, waving flags and shouting that Lara was disrespected. Police sirens wail as the two groups nearly collide in the streets, the tension stretching like a wire about to snap. Back in the chamber, lawmakers glance nervously at their buzzing phones. Notifications pile in, text messages from aides, headlines flashing, fundraising emails already being drafted. Every politician in that room knows they just witnessed a viral moment that will ripple into campaign ads, attack lines, and late-night monologues. Some look at Jasmine with admiration, others with envy, and more than a few with quiet fear. Jasmine sits, spine straight, face carved in resolve. She knows the cameras are still lingering on her, capturing every flicker of her expression. Lara forces a smile, but her fingers tap the desk, betraying the rattle beneath her golden facade. Across America, people aren't just watching, they're choosing sides, choosing truths, choosing which version of power they will believe. The nation holds its breath, pulled tighter into the storm. This is no longer a hearing, it's a battlefield of narratives, where every word cuts, every silence screams, and every American must decide which echo it will carry home. Whose voice do you think represents America, or Jasmine's, or Lara's? The chamber lights blaze hotter as Lara Trump leans forward, seizing back the microphone like a queen reclaiming her throne. Her voice carries the polish of a campaign ad but the bite of a warning shot. "Let me be clear," she declares, gesturing. With manicured precision, the Republican National Committee will physically handle the ballots. That is how we safeguard democracy. The words drop like stones in water, rippling across the chamber, across television screens, across a nation. Already frayed at the edges, gasps ripple. Reporters glance up from their notes, some frowning, others wide-eyed, already drafting headlines in their minds. MAGA loyalists pound their tables in approval, chanting "Secure the vote." Secure the vote, as if it were a battle hymn, but, for many watching, the phrase lands like a confession, a mask slipping. Democracy, they wonder, safeguarded by the very hands that seek to control it. Lara isn't finished, she leans back, almost smiling. And we're raising $500 million to ensure it happens. This is not just politics, this is preservation. This is patriotism. Jasmine Crockett's head snaps up, eyes flashing. Like steel catching fire, she doesn't wait for permission, doesn't wait for applause. Her words cut through Lara's monologue with surgical precision. No, it's stealing democracy. The chamber erupts again, but this time the nose is sharper, angrier, more divided than before. Democrats surge to their feet, clapping like thunder. Republicans hiss and jeer, some pounding their fists against the tables. The echo is deafening, like two nations trapped in one room. Lara tilts her head, feigning innocence, though her jaw tightens. Stealing, she repeats, letting the word hang heavy in the air. Only someone desperate for attention would confuse protection with theft. She looks around, locking eyes with cameras as if daring them to challenge her narrative. But Jasmine won't yield. She rises, steady and unshaken, her voice slicing through the chamber like glass. When a party seizes the power to touch every ballot, that's not protection, that's possession. And possession, Mrs. Trump, is 9/10 of the theft. The chamber gasps as if it has been punched. Phones buzz under the desks of aides, screens flashing with breaking alerts. Crockett accuses Lara of ballot theft. Social media ignites instantly. One tweet reads, "She said it, out loud." Stealing democracy. Another snarls, "Crockett is chaos. Lara is law." The divide widens, the audience glued to every second, waiting to see who will land the next strike. Lara's knuckles whiten on the podium. For the first time, her golden composure flickers. She forces a laugh, but it rings hollow, brittle under the chamber's glare. Jasmine, sensing blood in the water, doesn't smile, doesn't soften. Her tone grows lower, darker, pulling the audience closer with each word. Democracy doesn't need your golden cages, it needs trust. And the moment people believe their ballots rest in your hands the silence that follows is brutal. The camera pans over faces, some enraged, some inspired, all transfixed. Across the nation, Americans lean in closer to their screens, aware they are watching not just a debate but a fracture line slicing through the republic. Would you trust a political party to literally handle your ballot? The applause and jeers still ricochet through the chamber when Jasmine Crockett rises again, her voice steady, but her eyes burning like fire. She doesn't waste time trading insults, she goes for the jugular. $500 million, she says slowly, letting each syllable drip with contempt. That's what you call patriotism, Mrs. Trump. 500 million raised in ballrooms with champagne fountains while families in my district can't even keep the lights on. The chamber stiffens, cameras zoom closer. Lara shifts in her seat, her smirk faltering for the first time. Jasmine flips open her folder and reads aloud from a news clipping. Last month, Lara Trump hosted a gala in Palm Beach where the floral arrangements alone cost more than the average annual salary in Dallas County. Guests dine on caviar flown in from the Caspian Sea, and she stood at that podium, smiling, asking for donations to protect democracy. Jasmine slams the folder shut, the sound cracking like a gunshot. Protect democracy, or buy it. Images flash on the broadcast. A single mom in Houston, working 3 jobs yet still slipping eviction notices into a drawer so her children won't see. A laid-off oil worker in Midland staring at an empty fridge, choosing between groceries and gas. A teacher in Dallas picking up a night shift just to cover her insulin bill. Their stories weave through Jasmine's words like ghosts haunting the chamber. "These are the people I represent," she says, her voice breaking with fury, "and not one of them has ever been invited to your $10,000 a plate dinners. They don't sip champagne. They drink tap water they pray is clean." MAGA lawmakers groan, rolling their eyes, but Jasmine doesn't pause. She locks eyes with Lara and drives the blade deeper. "Every dollar you raise isn't about freedom, it's about power. You're not safeguarding democracy, You're auctioning it off to the highest bidder and calling it patriotism. The audience gasps, and the phrase shoots across social media like wildfire. Auctioning democracy. Within minutes, it trends, clipped and remixed. Millions replaying her words. Lara attempts to scoff, waving a dismissive hand, but her laughter trembles under the chamber lights. She tries to frame Jasmine's attack as jealousy, but the room no longer tilts her way. Even some Republicans glance down, avoiding her gaze, unwilling to defend excess in a moment so raw. The air feels heavy, as if the truth itself has flooded the chamber and there is no escape. Jasmine doesn't relent. Her voice softens, but the softness is sharper than rage. The people I serve don't want gold ceilings. They want roofs that don't leak. They don't want galas, they want groceries. They don't want to hear about $500 million, they want to know why their kids are hungry. Her final words land like a hammer blow. If democracy has a price tag, then it is no longer democracy. The chamber falls into a tense silence, broken only by the relentless clicking of cameras. Across the nation, millions sit frozen, hearts pounding, torn between admiration, anger, and disbelief. Should political money be capped to protect voters' voices? Detention is a living thing now, pulsing through every corner of the chamber. Lara Trump leans forward, her voice polished, rehearsed, dripping with condescension. Optics lead the crowd, she declares, her words echoing like a slogan meant to be carved into headlines. She gestures toward the cameras as if they are her real audience, not the lawmakers seated before her. The MAGA side roars in approval, clapping, cheering, stamping feet, convinced that appearances can bend reality itself. For a moment, it feels like she has seized the rhythm back, but Jasmine Crockett doesn't let the applause settle. She rises, in one clean motion, eyes blazing, and cuts the air with her reply. Outcomes save lives. Her voice doesn't rise. It sharpens, slicing through the nose like steel against glass. The chamber shudders, then detonates. Democrats leap to their feet, roaring, pounding desks with fists. Even some independents can't contain their shock. Republicans jeer louder, voices cracking as if volume alone could drown out truth. The air is electric, a hurricane of fury and conviction colliding under one roof. Jasmine presses forward, words tumbling like fire. Optics don't put food on the table. Optics don't keep the power on in the dead of winter. Optics don't save a child gasping for air because her parents can't afford the bill. Outcomes do. Outcomes decide whether people live or die while you polish your golden stage. Her words burn across the chamber, through the cameras, into millions of homes. Viewers at home sit forward, some with tears in their eyes, others with clenched fists, every syllable striking nerves raw. Lara forces a laugh, trying to dismiss the attack, but the mask is slipping. She waves toward the screen behind her, still flashing images of opulence and grandeur, and sneers. People follow what they see. Jasmine doesn't hesitate. Then let them see this, she says, slamming her palm onto the desk, her voice cracking like thunder. A party more obsessed with mirrors than medicine. A party that thinks propaganda can replace policy. Let them see the truth. You lead with optics. I'll fight for outcomes. The eruption is side. The cameras zoom in close, splitting the screen between two women, two visions of power, one wrapped in glitter, the other forged in grit. And America, breathless, is forced to ask itself which path it will follow, which matters more in politics, optics or outcomes. The chamber is still reeling from the clash over optics when Jasmine Crockett lifts a thick folder from her desk. Her eyes narrow, her voice steady, deliberate, each word landing like a countdown. If you want to talk about truth, she says, let's talk about Project 2025. She flips the folder open and slides after slide lights up the chamber screen's pages of proposals, charts, bullet points. That these aren't boring policy notes, they are blueprints for power. Centralizing authority in the executive branch, dismantling federal protections, rolling back civil rights, reproductive rights, voting rights, erasing decades of progress. With a single pen stroke, the audience leans in, breath tightening. The room is no longer buzzing, it is holding its breath. Jasmine doesn't rush. She lets the silence grow heavy, her voice slicing through it like a scalpel. This isn't a theory, it's written here, in black and white. Project 2025 would turn the government into a weapon pointed directly at the people it's meant to serve: women, minorities, workers, immigrants, anyone who doesn't fit their definition of control. Her words echo across the chamber like alarms in the night. Reporters' fingers fly, anchors whisper into earpieces, and millions at home feel a shiver crawl down their spine. Lara Trump lets out a sharp laugh, tilting her head back as if she's heard the punchline to a bad joke. Hollywood script, she sneers, her tone dripping with disdain. A Netflix thriller with no audience, she spreads her hands wide toward the cameras, flashing her diamond ring like proof of her authority. No one takes this seriously, Congresswoman, except for you. The MAGA bench erupts in laughter, pounding fists like they've just heard the line of the night. But the unease in their eyes betrays them. They know the file Jasmine holds is real. Jasmine doesn't flinch. She steps closer to the screen, pointing at one slide that highlights proposed federal rollbacks. "This isn't Hollywood," she fires back, voice rising, trembling not with weakness but with fury. "This is a horror story for every family who fought to be seen, to be heard, to be protected. This is the script they're writing for America, and the credits will roll on our democracy if we let them." Her words slice the chamber into silence again, heavier this time. Jasmine lowers the folder, her voice soft but laced with fire. "You can laugh all you want, Lara, you can mock, dismiss, deflect. But the American people know the difference between fiction and a threat written in plain English." Her eyes bore into Lara's as the cameras zoom in, splitting the screen between mockery and defiance, spectacle and truth. "Have you heard of Project 2025 before this?" The slides still glow on the chamber screens when Jasmine Crockett takes a step forward, her tone shifting from fiery to somber. "You call this a script?" she says, her voice lower now, steadier. "Let me tell you what this script means." She closes the folder and begins speaking without notes, her words carrying the weight of real lives. The room grows still. Even the cameras seem to zoom in closer, hungry for every syllable. She recalls the story of Maria, an immigrant mother in El Paso who has worked 2 jobs for 12 years while raising 3 children born in the United States. Under Project 2025's rollbacks, her family's path to citizenship would vanish overnight. Jasmine's voice cracks slightly as she repeats Maria's words. "I pay taxes, I obey the law, but they want to erase me like I never existed." A ripple of unease sweeps through the chamber. Viewers at home lean forward, picturing Maria's children clinging to her hands. Then Jasmine turns to another page. "Angela, a nurse from Houston," she says, "drove 6 hours to Oklahoma for care that Texas has already stripped away. Project 2025 would take away even that. She told me, I never thought I'd feel like a criminal for seeing a doctor." The line stabs through the chamber like ice. The MAGA side shifts uncomfortably. Suddenly unwilling to clap or jeer, the Democrats sit frozen, some blinking back tears. The silence feels heavier than any applause code. Her voice hardens now. "And then there's Jamal, a young black man from Dallas, registered to vote at 19. Waited for hours in line during the last election because polling places in his neighborhood were out. He told me, they hope we get tired and go home. Project 2025 would make sure he never has a chance to stand in that line again." She pauses, letting the weight of Jamal's voice fill the chamber. "That's not optics. That's oppression." The chamber still quivers from Jasmine's testimony when Lara Trump leans into her microphone, a sneer curling across her lips. Her voice slices through the air, dripping with disdain. "People want order, not whining." The words land like a slap, deliberate and cruel, meant to dismiss not only Jasmine, but every story she just told. The MAGA bench erupts in laughter, their claps echoing like a jeer against the voices of Maria, Angela, and Jamal. Jasmine doesn't flinch. She rises slowly, the weight of silence pressing around her, her expression carved from stone. She lets the laughter roll, lets the mockery burn itself out, then strikes back with a single line that detonates like a grenade. "Order without justice is a gilded cage." The chamber gasps as though oxygen itself has been ripped away. Phones snap up to record. Reporters scramble to repeat the words into their microphones, and across America, millions lean closer to their screens. The phrase reverberates, gaining force with every second. A gilded cage, golden, polished, dazzling on the outside but still a prison. The imagery scorches through the chamber like fire, branding itself into the minds of everyone present. Lara stiffens, her smirk faltering for the first time, as though she realizes she has walked straight into the trap. Jasmine presses forward, her voice steady, low, dangerous. "What you call order," she says, "is control dressed up in glitter. You silence voters and call it security, you strip away rights and call it stability. But order without justice doesn't free people, it cages them." Her hand slams against the desk, the sound cracking like thunder. The audience jolts, the nose ricocheting across the chamber like a gunshot. The MAGA side tries to rally, chanting order. Order. In unison, their voices desperate, hollow, as if volume could smother truth. But Jasmine won't be drowned out. She lifts her voice above the chaos, her words carrying like a battle cry. "You can lock people in cages made of gold, but they will still be cages. And cages don't protect freedom, they kill it." The chamber explodes into shouts, some of fury, some of awe. Protesters outside hear the line through speakers and erupt into chants, their voices echoing through the streets. Lara's composure cracks, her hands grip the podium tighter, knuckles white, as cameras catch every twitch, every flicker of fear behind her defiance. She tries to scoff, but the sound comes out brittle, a hollow laugh against the roar of the crowd. Jasmine stands, firm, her shoulders square, her gaze burning like a torch in the darkness. She has taken Lara's dismissal and transformed it into revelation, exposing the golden lie for what it is, a prison disguised as paradise. The chamber is no longer divided between applause and boos. It is suspended between two visions. The chamber is still echoing from Jasmine's line about gilded cages when a sudden commotion ripples through the back doors. The audience stirs, cameras whip around, and a young man in a wrinkled suit, eyes wide with fear but burning with determination, steps into the spotlight. A hush falls as he clutches a stack of papers to his chest. The sergeant at arms moves to stop him, but Jasmine raises a hand. "Let him speak." The tension crackles, like static before a lightning strike. The man clears his throat, voice shaking, but urgent. "I was an RNC field coordinator," he begins, his words stumbling out too quickly, too raw to be rehearsed. He lifts a printed email, its black and white letters projected onto the chamber screen. "Prioritize irregular voter targeting. Focus on districts with high minority turnout." Gasps detonate through the chamber. Reporters leap to their feet, scrambling to capture every angle. Lawmakers shout over each other, some demanding order, others demanding answers. Lara Trump's face drains of color, then hardens into a skull. "This is fake." Lara snaps, her voice sharp, desperate to reassert control. "A fabrication, a stunt." She waves her hand dismissively, but her fingers tremble just enough for the cameras to catch it. The whistleblower shakes his head, his voice steadier now. "It's real. I watch colleagues circulate it. I watch them laugh while planning how to intimidate voters. I couldn't stay silent anymore." The chamber erupts, MAGA allies shout lies, while Democrats demand the document be entered into record. Outside, protesters roar as the leaked email flashes across jumbo screens, their chants rising like thunder. "Whose votes? Oh, your votes." Social media combusts hashtags like #leakedmemo and #targeting voters surge. Millions of Americans sharing the screenshot before the hearing even continues. Jasmine rises again, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Fake," she repeats, eyes locked on Lara. She points to the initials at the bottom of the email, LT. "If it's fake, then explain this. Who else would sign these orders?" The chamber gasps again, louder, sharper, the kind of sound that pierces through television screens into living rooms across the country. Lara opens her mouth, but no words come. The silence stretches, suffocating, more damning than any confession. Reporters whisper frantically, some mouthing the words "game over" as their cameras zoom in tighter. The whistleblower's hands still shake, but his chin lifts higher, his courage spreading like wildfire through the room. Jasmine's voice drops lower, her fury honed into steel. "This is not about party politics. This is about the systematic theft of voices they are terrified to hear, voices they are desperate to erase." Every syllable hits with the weight of a hammer driving nails into the coffin of Lara's defense. The chamber is no longer just divided. The chamber hasn't recovered from the leaked memo, and the committee chair calls forward a witness seated quietly in the second row. A bespectacled woman, in her 50s, rises, clutching a stack of annotated legal documents. she is introduced as Professor Elaine Turner, one of the nation's foremost election law scholars. The room falls into a taut silence as she approaches the microphone. Her calm presence contrasts the storm raging around her, but the gravity in her eyes signals what she is about to say could shake the walls further. She begins with a measured tone, flipping to the email projected on the screen. The language here may look innocuous, she explains, pointing to phrases like irregular voter targeting and ballot oversight, but in legal terms, this is code. It is carefully crafted ambiguity designed to intimidate. By labeling minority-heavy districts as irregular, the directive paves the way for intrusive challenges, poll watchers hovering like shadows, and voters walking away in fear before they ever cast a ballot. Murmurs ripple through the chamber. Reporters scribble furiously. At home, families exchange uneasy glances. This isn't abstract anymore. It's a direct assault on their voices. Lara slams her palm against the table, her voice sharp with desperation. Spin. She spits, cutting across the testimony. Just spin from another ivory tower professor who hates Republicans. Her allies cheer, banging their fists like soldiers rallying behind their commander. But Jasmine Crockett doesn't allow the noise to take hold. She rises, gaze fixed on Lara, her tone cold and unyielding. Truth doesn't need spin. The chamber jolts at her words, the simplicity slicing sharper than any statistic. Professor Turner presses on, refusing to be rattled. I've studied election law for 3 decades, she says firmly. I can tell you this, when legal language is weaponized to frighten voters out of exercising their rights, it is not oversight, it is suppression. She holds up the memo, like a smoking gun, and suppression by design is not democracy. It is control. The last word echoes through the microphones, ringing like a verdict. Lara shakes her head, laughter forced, brittle. This is theater, she mutters, but the cameras have already caught her eyes darting downward, her composure cracking like glass under pressure. The MAGA bench grows quieter, sensing the tide shifting, while Democrats sit rigid, their faces grim but burning with conviction. The whistleblower exhales shakily in the back row, as though the weight he carried alone is finally being shared. Jasmine steps closer to the desk, her voice lowering to a simmer that forces the room to lean in. Professor Turner just confirmed what we all know. You can dress it up with legal jargon, you can bury it under gold, but the truth stands naked, and naked truth doesn't lie. It doesn't spin, it doesn't cage, it demands. The chamber hangs heavy in silence, the leaked memo glowing on the screen like a live grenade. Professor Turner's words still echo, but Jasmine Crockett isn't finished. She rises slowly, one hand on the folder, the other pointing directly to the bottom of the document. Her voice lowers to a chilling calm that forces even the nosest lawmakers into silence. Let's look closely at who approved this directive. She zooms in on the initials scrawled at the bottom. LT. The letters blaze across the screen. Larger than life, impossible to ignore. Gasps burst through the chamber like an explosion. Reporters leap to their feet, some nearly knocking over cameras. Phones vibrate as screenshots race onto social media. LT sign memo live. Within seconds. Hashtags ignite. Hashtag LT exposed. Hashtag golden hands on ballots. The hearing is no longer just a political fight, it is a public trial unfolding in real time. Lara Trump stiffens. For the first time, her mask slips, her smirk vanishes, her jaw locks, and her eyes flicker away from the screen as if searching for escape. It's only a heartbeat, a fraction of hesitation, but in politics, hesitation is blood in the water. Jasmine seizes it instantly. LT. She repeats, her tone rising like a drumbeat. Those are your initials, Lara Trump. Are you saying this is coincidence? That someone else in your party signed your name on a directive to target minority voters? The chamber detonates into chaos. Democrats roar, some demanding Lara answer. Under oath, Republicans shout objections, their voices cracked with desperation. Lara slams her palm on the desk, stammering, This is fake, forge, a setup. But her voice shakes, and the microphones catch every tremor. Jasmine's eyes blaze as she steps closer, her words cutting like knives. You've mocked, you've laughed, you've called it spin. But now your name, your very initials are on the paper. You can't hide behind gold. You can't hide behind optics. This is your fingerprint on the theft of democracy. The cameras zoom in tight, splitting the screen. On one side, Jasmine standing like an unshakable wall. On the other, Lara coughed frozen, her eyes darting, her breath shallow. Social media explodes with side-by-side screenshots. Commentators whisper frantically, anchors interrupting each other with phrases like career-ending moment and the turning point. Outside, protesters surge louder, chants of resign, resign. Shaking the barricades, Lara tries to recover, forcing a laugh, but it collapses halfway, brittle and hollow. She spits out, "This is a circus, a witch hunt." Jasmine doesn't blink. She leans into her microphone, voice a whisper sharpened into steel. "No, Lara, this is accountability, and accountability doesn't care how much gold you hide behind." Her words hang in the chamber, heavy as a verdict. The chamber is boiling when the moderator pounds the gavel, his voice cracking through the chaos. "Enough. Each of you will have 47 seconds. No interruptions, no spin. America deserves to hear you without the shouting." The countdown clock flashes on the giant screen, its red numbers ticking like a bomb about to detonate. The room falls into an uneasy hush. Millions of eyes fix on Lara Trump as she grips the microphone. She inhales sharply, her smile snapping back into place, like a mask hastily glued on. She's a queen of ratings, not a lawmaker. Lara sneers, her voice syrupy but cutting. She thrives on sound bites, not solutions. She's addicted to the spotlight, addicted to being viral because without it, she's nothing. America needs leaders, not influencers. MAGA allies were their approval, fists pounding, while the other half of the chamber sits in stiff silence. Lara tilts her head with practiced arrogance, the clock ticking down to 0. The moderator nods, then signals to Jasmine. The countdown resets, 47 seconds. Jasmine doesn't rush to the microphone. She walks into the silence, owning it, her heels echoing like drum beats in the tense chamber. When she speaks, her voice is low, steady, carrying a weight no applause can drown. "I'm a civil rights lawyer, not a TV ornament," gasps ripple through the audience. She leans closer, her gaze never leaving Lara. "When you've defended families losing their homes, when you've stood beside mothers in courtrooms, when you've fought to keep the ballot sacred, you don't need ratings. You need results, and results save lives." The chamber trembles. For a moment, there's no cheering, no jeering, just the piercing clarity for words. The clock ticks down. 30 seconds, 29. Jasmine raises her voice, now sharp as glass. "If standing for justice makes me viral, then let it. If speaking truth shakes this chamber, then let it. Because I don't work for applause, I work for the people whose lives are crushed while you polish golden cages." Lara's smirk wavers. The cameras catch it, the audience sees it. Jasmine presses harder, her voice building to a crescendo. As the clock bleeds away, "You can call me the queen of ratings all you want, I'll take that crown. Because if ratings mean America finally listens, then maybe, just maybe, truth still has a chance to win." The final seconds evaporate, the buzzer blares, and Jasmine steps back, leaving her words ringing in the air like a verdict. The chamber erupts, louder than ever. Democrats leap to their feet, some shouting Jasmine's words back like a chant. Republicans bark in fury, but their voices sound shrill against the roar of applause. Reporters shout into cameras, this 47-second exchange will be replayed for decades. Across the country, Americans sit frozen. The buzzer has barely faded when Jasmine leans forward again, refusing to surrender the silence Lara left hanging in the air. She doesn't raise her voice, she sharpens it, every word a blade. "Ballots are bricks of democracy. Gold is just taint." The line lands with such force that the chamber jolts, as if the marble columns themselves had cracked. The sound of pen scratching halts, the chanting dies. For a split second, the entire room forgets to breathe. Jasmine lets the silence burn. Eyes locked on Lara, bricks build. Bricks endure. Bricks hold up a nation when storms tear it apart. The paint washes away in the first rain. And that is all your so-called golden age is, paint covering decay. The chamber shudders with whispers, the kind that spread like fire. A reporter mounts, that's the quote of the night, into a live camera. The words ricochet to televisions, phones, and laptops across America. Twitter explodes, the phrase trending in seconds, #bricks not paint. Lara scoffs. But the smirk never makes it past her lips. Her fingers drum nervously against the desk, betraying cracks in her armor. Jasmine presses harder, her words rolling like thunder. "When a child waits in a line for hours long just to cast a vote, That ballot is a brick. When a mother chooses between rent and medicine but still shows up at the polls, that ballot is a brick. When a veteran walks with a cane to mark his choice because he still believes in this country, that ballot is a brick. And every brick belongs to the people, not to you, not to your donors, not to your cages of gold. The silence that follows is suffocating, thicker than any roar. Even Lara's allies shift uneasily, eyes darting away from the cameras. Across the nation, living rooms fall still as families cling to every syllable, knowing instinctively they've just heard history crystallize in real time. Jasmine's words have become more than rhetoric, they are scripture for a new generation. Lara forces a laugh, thin and hollow, but no one joins her. The cameras stay fixed on Jasmine, her figure framed like a warrior beneath the harsh white lights. She isn't smiling, she isn't performing. She's standing like steel, her voice weighted with the grief and fury of millions who've been ignored, dismissed, erased. "You think ratings make me powerful," she says, her voice lowering into a growl. "No, truth makes me powerful. And truth doesn't need chandeliers, it doesn't need a stage. It doesn't need gold, it needs courage. And tonight, courage wins." The chamber is thunderstruck, locked in a moment that feels more like judgment than debate. Lara freezes. The camera is catching every flicker of panic that flashes across her face. Protesters outside erupt into chants, their voices rising into the night like a tidal wave. "Bricks, not taint, bricks, not taint." For a heartbeat, the chamber hangs in dead silence. Jasmine Crockett's words, "Ballots are bricks of democracy. Gold is just taint," still echo in the rafters like the toll of a cathedral bell. Then the dam bursts. One half of the chamber erupts to its feet, cheering, clapping, pounding desks with fists. The roar is deafening, like a stadium after a knockout punch. The other half sits frozen in their seats, jaws clenched, eyes darting, stunned into silence. The split is visible, physical. Two nations locked in one room. Reporters scramble to their feet, speaking breathlessly into cameras. "This clip will define 2025, one anchor blurts, their voice quivering with the rush of history. Another whispers, almost reverently, "We are watching a turning point unfold live." News tickers blaze across the bottom of screens nationwide. Crockett's line shakes Congress. Social media explodes. Hashtags multiplied by the second. Hashtag bricks not paint. Hashtag golden lie. Hashtag Crockett moment. Millions share the clip before it even finishes airing. The internet catching fire with a fury only truth can ignite. Inside the chamber, chaos reigns. Some lawmakers hug Jasmine, eyes blazing with admiration. Others glare at her like she's committed sacrilege, their whispers venomous. She's finished. But Jasmine stands motionless, unflinching, as if rooted to the floor by something larger than herself. Her eyes remain locked on Lara Trump, who is pale now, her smirk shatter, her fingers digging into the wooden desk as though bracing against an earthquake. The camera splits the screen on one side, Jasmine glowing under, the roar of triumph on the other. Lara shrinking beneath the weight of her silence. Anchors narrate breathlessly. This is the image Americans will remember. One woman exposing the golden illusion, another crumbling beneath it. Protesters outside catch the feed on giant screens, erupting into chants that shake the barricades. "Bricks, not paint, bricks, not paint." The sound reverberates through the streets like a drumbeat of revolution. Lara finally rises, her voice trembling as she tries to retort. This is a circus, a spectacle, but the words fall flat, swallowed by the roar of the crowd and the buzz of millions of phones capturing Jasmine's defiant silhouette. The cameras don't let her escape. Every stammer, every twitch of panic, every flicker of doubt is magnified, immortalized, broadcast in real time. Jasmine doesn't speak again. She doesn't need to. Her silence is louder than any rebuttal, her composure a dagger twisting deeper than any insult. She simply folds her hands, shoulders square, face unyielding, a portrait of unbreakable resolve. The chamber doesn't just see her, it crowns her. Across America, families gather around televisions, stunned. Some whisper, "She's right," others mutter angrily, "She's dangerous," but all agree on one thing they will never forget. This moment, it has been etched into history, into headlines, into the nation's bloodstream. And as the dust swirls in that chamber, one question rises above the noise, cutting through every living room, every diner, every bar, every protest. Do you think this moment will change votes? The clip hasn't even finished airing when the streets outside the Capitol ignite. Protesters surge against the barricades, their voices rising like a tidal wave, fists pumping into the night. Signs blaze above the crowd in fluorescent paint. Gold does not equal truth and protect democracy. The chants shake the pavement. Bricks not paint. Bricks not paint. Their echoes bouncing off the stone walls of the Capitol until the building itself seems to tremble. Police lines tighten, shields raised, batons ready, but the crowd keeps swelling, wave after wave, unstoppable. Camera crews swing their lenses from the chamber to the chaos outside. On one side of the barricade, democracy activists beat drums, waving handmade banners, tears streaming down their faces as they scream Jasmine Crockett's words into the night. On the other side, counter-protesters arrive draped in MAGA flags, bellowing back, "Order, order." The clash is raw, visceral, two nations colliding in the same street, separated only by a thin blue line of officers gripping riot shields. Helicopters hover overhead, their spotlights sweeping across faces twisted in fury, fear, and defiance. Meanwhile, social media detonates. Twitter trends explode with hashtag gold vs people, hashtag bricks not paint, and hashtag protect democracy. TikTok loops the moment. Jasmine said gold is just paint against pounding bass, turning it into an anthem of resistance. Instagram floods with images, protesters holding candles, their lights forming rivers of fire flowing down the National Mall. Facebook groups fill with calls for mass marches, hashtags morphing into movement. America is no longer just watching, it is moving, roaring, shaking itself awake. News anchors scramble to keep up. MSNBC reports, the streets are louder than the chamber. CNN interrupts programming with a chyron flashing. Capitol protests erupt in real time. Fox counters with chaos outside Crockett's mob. Every network frames it differently, but none can deny the scale. Across the nation, small towns echo the Capitol, but not every table echoes with admiration. In a suburb outside Columbus, a father stabs at his steak, muttering, "Radical. That's what she is, loud and dangerous. This isn't leadership, it's chaos." His wife sighs, torn, eyes flicking between her husband's clenched jaw and their daughter, who fires back across the table. "Chaos is when your vote doesn't count. She's fighting for us, Dad. Don't you get it?" The room simmers with tension, forks clinking against plates like distant drums of war. Meanwhile, in a diner in Mississippi, old friends gather after church. The air smells of fried catfish and coffee, but the conversation is heavier than Sunday sermons. One man shakes his head. She never win against them. The retired teacher across from him slams her mug down. She already won. Every word she said tonight will echo for years. That's what power looks like, the power to wake people up. Around them, strangers nod quietly, some in agreement, some in disbelief, all pulled into the gravity of the moment. Every household, every diner, every bar becomes another front line. The divide runs through marriages, friendships, neighborhoods. The conversation isn't just about one woman, it's about what kind of America families believe in. Around tables across the nation, voices rise, fall, collide, sometimes ending in slammed fists, sometimes in exhausted silence. But no one can ignore the question anymore. Jasmine has forced it into their homes, into their meals, into their very lives. What do you talk about politics at your dinner table? The battle spills from the marble chamber onto the airwaves. Within hours, Lara Trump appears on Fox News, the studio bathed in red and blue spotlights, her tone rehearsed, venom masked as concern. Jasmine hates order, she declares, her eyes cold but confident. She is chaos. She thrives on division, on stirring fear, on tearing down the very stability this country needs. The host nods furiously, feeding the fire, calling Jasmine. The chamber is bruised from hours of verbal combat when Lara Trump rises one final time, gripping the microphone as though it were the last shield between her and collapse. Her voice quivers at first, but then steadies, sharpened by desperation. She straightens her shoulders, diamonds glittering under the hot lights, and declares, "We are the golden age. We are the strength, the order, the vision that will restore America to what it once was. Don't be fooled by theatrics. Don't let chaos tear down what we built. This is patriotism, and it will endure long after the nose fades." Her allies slam their hands against desks, chanting golden age, golden age. The words echo like a ritual, a mantra clawing to drown out the night, but Jasmine Crockett doesn't wait for the applause to die. She steps forward slowly, her voice calm yet lethal, like a blade pulled from its sheath. "Golden age," she repeats, her tone heavy with scorn. Her eyes lock on Lara, unblinking. "No, you're not the golden age, you're the golden illusion, shiny on the outside, hollow at the core. A mirage that tricks the thirsty into walking deeper into the desert." The chamber gasps, the words detonating like ATHUNDERCLAP. Jasmine doesn't stop. Her voice rises, carrying through the marble hall, past the cameras, into the streets. Outside, patriotism is not chandeliers and ballrooms. Patriotism is a mother voting after a 12-hour shift. Patriotism is a soldier casting his ballot with trembling hands. Patriotism is a grandmother teaching her grandson that his voice matters as much as any billionaire's, and none of that can be bought with gold. Not 1 ounce. The chamber splits again. Cheers, outrage, stunned silence. Reporters whisper frantically into cameras. This is the moment America will remember. Lara's face freezes, her mask fractured beyond repair, as Jasmine stands, firm, lit like a torch in the storm. The contrast is complete. Illusion versus truth, spectacle versus sacrifice. And millions of Americans lean forward, knowing history has just been forced into focus. Do you think patriotism can be bought with gold? The roar of the chamber lingers, but Jasmine doesn't raise her fist to match it. She lets the nose taper into silence, then leans into the microphone with a voice stripped bare of fury yet pulsing with something even stronger: conviction. Her gaze sweeps the room, then beyond the cameras, as if she's speaking directly into every living room across. Jasmine continues, her voice gaining strength with every word. Democracy is not a trophy to be displayed, it's not gold to be hoarded. It's the teacher who stays after class to make sure a child can read. It's the single mom who still makes it to the polls after her 3rd shift. It's the veteran who casts his ballot even when his legs shake with pain. That is democracy, not glitter, not illusion, people. Her words thrum with power, reverberating like a drumbeat in the chest of every viewer. In the chamber, silence reigns, but it's no longer the silence of fear, it's the silence of reverence, of truth settling heavy and undeniable. Even her opponents cannot fully mask the weight pressing down on their shoulders. Lara's glare looks hollow now, her golden mirage dimmed under the sheer force of humanity made visible. Outside, protesters lift their candles higher, voices trembling into chants that ripple across the city. Social media captions light up. Democracy isn't gold. It's us. And for the first time in a night of fury and fire, hope pierces the storm. What does democracy mean to you personally? The chamber empties slowly, echoes of chants still vibrating through the marble walls. Reporters shout questions, cameras flash, but Jasmine Crockett doesn't linger at the podium. She gathers her papers, exhales once, then steps down from the stage that had moments ago been a battlefield. The narrator's voice rolls in, steady, resonant, carrying the weight of the night. A warrior for justice isn't measured by enemies defeated, but lives defended. The camera follows Jasmine through the long corridor, the chaos fading into a hush. At the doors, she doesn't greet donors or shake hands with politicians. Instead, she stops for the janitor sweeping the hallway, clasping his hand firmly. A nurse waiting outside presses forward shyly, and Jasmine thanks her for her service, holding her gaze as if it mattered more than any headline. At the edge of the crowd, a college student nervously extends his hand. Jasmine shakes it, then grips his shoulder, telling him, "Your voice matters. Don't ever let them silence it." The final image lingers not on chandeliers or golden illusions, but on these faces, ordinary Americans who carry the bricks of democracy in their daily struggles. Their smiles are small, their eyes tired, but in that moment, they shine brighter than any gilded stage. The narrator's voice returns, softer now, but cutting straight to the heart. History will not remember the glitter. It will remember the people who chose truth over illusion. As Jasmine walks out into the night, the chants outside swell again, candles flickering like stars across the dark streets. The camera pulls back, the Capitol glowing in the background, divided yet alive. And then, in bold letters across the screen, the final call to action flashes like a challenge to every viewer. Gold or people? Comment your answer below. True strength is not measured by the glitter we displayed, but by the lives we choose to defend. Jasmine's fight against illusion reminds us that democracy, justice, and dignity are built from countless small acts of courage by ordinary people refusing to be silenced. In our own lives, the same principle holds. We can chase appearances, or we can build outcomes that truly matter. The choice is never abstract, it is personal, immediate, and urgent. So I ask you, when faced with injustice in your own community, will you stay silent, or will you raise your voice and become the brick that strengthens democracy? Thank you for watching until this moment and for standing with us on this journey for justice. Your support means everything. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let us know what moved you most in this story. Together, our voices make a difference.